There is a question at the heart of Jewish history that still echoes through our lives today. What do we do when things that we love are broken? Right now, we are in the midst of a stretch of the Jewish calendar known as Bein HaMetzarim, the 3 weeks. The name means between the straits, and it captures the feeling of being squeezed or pressed or being caught in a narrow place, both spiritually and historically. The 3 weeks begin with the 17th of Tammuz, a date marking the breach of Jerusalem's walls. They end with the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av, the day our ancestors witnessed the destruction of the temples. Over time, Tisha B'Av also came to hold other national Jewish traumas, expulsions, massacres, pogroms, and loss. Traditionally, this is a time of mourning, no weddings and no live music, a gradual turning inward. And on Tisha B'Av itself, we fast. We read the book of Lamentations, we sit low to the ground, and we recite haunting poetry. We imagine the sound of walls falling and lives undone. But we don't live in the shadow of the temple anymore. We have never known a Judaism centered on sacrificial offerings or priests in sacred garments. And so the question arises, especially for those of us in Reform communities, what are we really mourning? We may not long for the rebuilding of the temple, but we can still recognize what it means to lose a center, something sacred, something that held meaning and structure. I believe the 3 weeks still speak urgently and personally because all of us knows what it feels like to lose something sacred, to experience collapse, and to watch something that we love fall apart. We may not be grieving a literal temple, but that doesn't mean that we're not grieving. So many of us are carrying quiet heartbreaks, losses, or the ache of uncertainty. We grieve broken relationships. We grieve the shattering of trust. We grieve when our health changes or our safety is threatened or when the world feels unjust. We grieve when we watch our children hurting or when we carry silent disappointments. And for many of us, there is a deeper communal grief, the collective mourning of a kind of shared sacredness that feels like it's been broken, the sacredness of basic human decency, the sacredness of truth, the sacredness of believing that our leaders should model compassion and humility and moral responsibility, the belief that goodness or justice or even just civility might be common ground. Many of us feel so shaken by the cultural climate, the vitriol and the disinformation and the cruelty that has been normalized in our public discourse. There's a weariness that comes to all of us from feeling like kindness no longer holds sway, that outrage is the currency of leadership, that so much of what we depend on, our democracy, our environment, and our ethics, feels cracked, if not broken and crumbled. We carry a spiritual exhaustion with a question rising quietly in the back of our minds, or at least in the back of mine. Is it still possible to believe in goodness? And when these things happen, we find ourselves standing in the rubble, asking the ancient question again, what do we do when the things that we love are broken? The 3 weeks offers no easy answers, but they do offer a process. First, they ask us not to look away, not to rush towards resolution. In the same way that mourning a loved one brings rituals of sitting Shiva, this season gives us a structure for collective grief. It gives us permission to pause, to feel, and to not be okay for a little while. There's great wisdom in allowing ourselves to sit with this pain and in giving it shape and sound and time, in weeping for what was. This is not about glorifying suffering. It's about honoring the depth of what was lost and the love that made it matter to begin with. And then after the devastation, something extraordinary happens. Immediately after Tisha B'Av, the mood of our tradition begins to shift. The very next Shabbat is called Shabbat Nachamu, the Sabbath of comfort. We read the words of the prophet Isaiah, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, comfort, comfort my people, says your God. This Haftarah begins a cycle of 7 weeks of consolation, leading us from grief toward renewal, preparing us for the spiritual rebirth of the high holy days. And this is the arc of Jewish time: destruction followed by comfort, exile followed by return, and brokenness followed by blessing. In her best-selling book, Rising Strong, researcher and author Brené Brown writes, "The irony is that we attempt to disown our difficult stories to appear more whole, but our wholeness, even our wholeheartedness, actually depends on the integration of all of our experiences, including the falls." Brown reminds us that healing isn't about pretending nothing happened. It's about integrating the heartbreak into our wholeness. And this is what the Jewish calendar gives us too: a path not around the pain, but straight through it. The Talmud tells the story of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who escaped the siege of Jerusalem inside a coffin and secured permission from the Romans to build a new center of Jewish life in the town of Yavne. He knew the temple could not be saved, but he also knew that Judaism could survive if it were to be reborn. And it was, not with walls of stone, but with words of Torah, not with sacrifices, but with song and study and community. When the temple fell, Judaism reimagined itself, and so can we. This is the spiritual challenge of the 3 weeks, not just to grieve, but to ask, what do I love enough to rebuild? What in our lives, in our relationships, our communities, our country, our homeland deserves not just our sorrow, but our strength? The world is so full of brokenness, but Judaism teaches us that it's also full of people more than willing to put the pieces back together. One mitzvah, one act of justice, one prayer at a time. The Hasidic master, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, once said, "If you believe that you can break something, believe also that you can repair it." So yes, the 3 weeks invites us to sit with what is broken, but they also dare us to hope, to believe in repair and return, to begin again, not because it's easy, but because it's holy. May this season move us to hold our pain with compassion, to build something new from the ashes of what's been lost, to rebuild not only in our homes and our relationships, but also in our shared civic and moral and religious lives, and to remember always that our story doesn't end in destruction. It leads us through heartbreak and out the other side to resilience and to return. Can you hear Ratzon? Min hametzar karatia Healing nitani, vatehili